Welcome to Clever Orbits. I am one of your hosts, Louis Brantmeyer, and on the line we also have the illustrious, the nefarious, the mischievous
Richard Futrell.
Wondering who was going to take that one, and the pretender to the throne of Scotland,
Tyler Brantmeyer.
Well, congratulations on not being assassinated when you pretended to the throne.
It was easy to pretend.
It was easy to pretend. So today we are talking about the 4th season episode, The Raven, from Star Trek Voyager, continuing our theme of the Borg and getting very personal and very specific in our examination of the Borg and its impact on a particular person's life. That is Annika Hansen, a.k.a. 7 of 9. And in this episode, basically, 7 starts having hallucinations. We find out later these are because of a homing signal that's coming from a ship, and her Borg itself. She knocks Neelix to the floor, leaves Voyager through an action sequence, and is chased by the Bomar, the species of Voyager is trying to negotiate with, and then eventually also by Tom Paris and Tuvok. Tuvok ends up logicking her into and sympathizing with her into hanging out with her while she follows this call to follow the homing signal. They discover the ship where she was originally assimilated. She has very cathartic style hallucinatory memory re-enlivenments, and then the Bomar destroy the ship and they leave. And Janeway and Seven have a kind of conclusion scene where they talk. Anyway, so at first I didn't like this. At first I thought it was kind of drab, dull, boring, routine. No. At first. And then, a little later, I realized this is kind of the knife's edge for the internal conflict that 7 of 9 experiences between exploring and engaging with her humanity on the one hand, and like the Borg tech and the experiences of dissociation from that humanity by via the Borg. And I was able to be okay with the slow, pensive, sometimes nature of the episode, because it was really a good character episode, I think, for her. And as far as what it adds to the Borg, not too much. There's some interesting wrinkles, but yeah. What did you guys think? What did you like? Dislike?
I really liked it. As a matter of fact, you could say that this episode left me raving about how good it is. Get it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to try to edit that out now.
Okay.
It was just so bad. I'm just kidding.
We can't use Raven jokes. We can't. I thought we agreed.
No, I was
We're not craving
the
Raven.
first scene where they had
Forevermore.
The inside of
Lenore.
Where 7 of 9 was hallucinating and she was in the Borg place, but there was this Raven there. I thought that was pretty cool and creepy, and all the shots of like close-ups of Ravens. I think it did a good job of building up a sort of creepy atmosphere and a mystery, because I hadn't seen this episode before, so I really didn't know.
Oh, really?
I realized I had, but it was so long ago I had forgotten.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I didn't know it was the Raven was the ship until the end, and I'm still a little bit unclear on what the role of the Borg implants are. So I get the idea that she got a homing beacon and she went to the ship, but why is she getting this growth of Borg implants? That's still a little unclear to me.
I think it's interesting for her. Like, there's a really unique situation for her because the Borg implants have replaced so much of her physiology as a human in order to augment it. And incidentally, she says Borg don't sit. So I realized, they must have some augmentation that allow them to, like, never sit.
I think they just have really good back health. It's like they're at standing desks all day.
Maybe.
The first thing they replace is the lumbar vertebra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something to do with the spine, probably. But so anyway, the technology has augmented her function that it's going to be there. Like, it's a symbiotic thing that she kind of lives with for the rest of her life. And they actually kind of exploit this in the Voyager relaunch novels, where, so there's 2 novels. Homecoming is one of them, and I think Full Circle is the next one, or I don't remember the names. But anyway, the Borg Queen gives Seven of Nine this assimilation virus. And you always wonder, like, okay, why are they so inefficient? Like, they have to assimilate people one by one. And, like, why can't they have put something in the water or in the air? And they do just that, except it takes, like, forever to take effect. But so in the book, Voyager comes home. You get all these really cool scenes that you don't get from the last season or the last few episodes of Voyager, like finding out what's going on with all the characters and how they relate to their lives now that they're back home and their friends and family. And then Seven of Nine introduces this virus by accident that starts, like, assimilating all of Earth. And they have to figure out how to stop it, and I won't spoil that. It's really interesting, really well written. But anyway, yeah, it was kind of cool to see her doing her Borg thing again, although it brought me the question of, like, at what point do nanoprobes overcome free will? And it seems like for most of this episode, the strength of her Borg personality overcame her nascent desire to be human or to explore her humanity. And, like, I haven't watched the interim episodes between The Gift and this one, like the one where, you know, Janeway fights with her to let go of having to be a Borg. And it seems like she's made a couple great strides. Like, she's actually curious. She's actually open and willing. She lets Neelix, of all people, teach her how to eat.
Yeah, don't you think that should have been done under medical supervision if she's really never swallowed food before? Isn't it, like, kind of dangerous to just let some kind of random person teach her how to do that? She might choke.
Good God. She could have choked so easily.
And died. Yeah. I did think it was delightful. She was kind of mechanical and stolid in her movements, which was just how you would expect a Borg who has just become human and is starting to consume nutrients using her esophagus and her mouth would be. So that was satisfying.
Yeah, I was a little curious. It appeared she had never experienced taste before. But, you know, if the Borg are trying to control their drones, they should do so via all possible sensory inputs, right, including taste.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, efficiency and ordered activity eventually means they just don't get exposed to stimuli or thought processes that allow them to go outside the realm of what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
I also feel like when Seven of Nine's talking about how pleasure serves no purpose, I mean, it seems like if you're running something like the Borg Collective, you should deliver pleasure to drones that are performing well and deliver pain to ones that aren't performing well, right? That's what pleasure and pain are. They're just signals from your brain, right? So I was also a little dubious that the Borg wouldn't experience pain, unless it implies, and this is an interesting idea, that the level of control that they have over the drones is so complete that they don't need any kind of reinforcement signals. They can just think to do something and it happens.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going on. I think pleasure and pain would make them a liability and would make them, even though they don't have free will, even though they don't have individuated personalities, it would make them like rats in the cage, like mammals or rats in a cage, which is interesting as a sidebar. Like, it seems like all of what they assimilate, the Borg, are bipeds and like humanoid bipeds. And so they talk about, like, adding your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. And she literally quotes that, like, saying, oh, yes, yours was added, Neelix, Talaxian. I love Neelix's response, by the way. He's like, well, that's good for you. It's just, like, very uncomfortable and kind of creeped out and, like, trying to be polite.
You get the idea that he immediately thought, oh, God, did they assimilate the home world? Did they?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a flash of concern on his face there.
And so anyway, it's unclear what their notion of so what are their operating standards, number one? Like what are they doing to the drones? And it seems like they're taking them out of the pleasure pain circuit so that they can be entirely oriented towards goal-directed, intentional activities, without being hampered by pain on the one hand. Like, they could lose an arm and their physiological system would be like screaming and they can still be pursuing something, which it seems like is actually what's going on. You see the Borg Queen lose an arm in Endgame, and she's just kind of like, okay. I think she even, like, rips off her arm, if I'm not mistaken. And then, like, pleasure, yeah, I think they've just judged that pleasure and pain are not a valuable motivational system. And then also, what their notion of perfection is, like, what are they after? is it a sampling of every species, like in order to have some yeah. So I'm just unclear what perfection is. I mean, they like the omega particle, right? We find out in the next episode that we'll watch, actually, but we're not clear. Do you guys have some ideas? I'm curious.
Seems to be some kind of power, but they, in addition to that, they also really seem to, on some level, enjoy each other's company, enjoy the coordinated action. It's a kind of really twisted exaggeration of the idea of empathy.
So they're kind of like being kind and generous to invite everybody into the group.
Yeah, like you've got this great empathetic bond with someone, and you want to add someone else, and you can make it even more strong by, even more coordination until eventually you're acting essentially as one organism, and then you want to keep on adding more. I don't know. I really think they just want to grow and add more stuff. They're like a cancer.
Yes, get everywhere, be everything.
I mean, if you wonder, like, what are the cancer cells inside of a tumor thinking? They're probably thinking we're pursuing perfection, right? We're just going to keep on growing. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was curious what their, mission objectives are. I mean, clearly they can't assimilate everyone temporally. Like, they can't go back in time and assimilate everyone from every species. So how much of each species are they trying to assimilate? Or is it just whoever they encounter they're trying to assimilate? But then they're going into other dimensions before having assimilated everyone in this one. So what's with that? Like, what's going on with that? I don't know. Their operational strategy, their strategy for scaling up their business doesn't make much sense to me.
I mean, part of the answer might be in how 7 of 9 in previous episodes seems to take some pride in how the Borg are powerful. Maybe what they're interested in is just the power aspect and being invulnerable to attack.
Huh. So they're more likely to just survive. So maybe perfection for them is some kind of, that would be really interesting. So perfection for them is an advancement of the intention to survive through exploring and gathering all the means of survival that are available to all species that have done so. And so this requires assimilation, adding biological and technological distinctiveness, and it would also explain why they are so excited about species 8472, because, they're the most densely genetically coded species, and they're built for survival and resilience and all of this. And then I think it would also kind of fit with the omega particle stuff. Like omega, it's just harmonious, and it's powerful, it's strong. It's kind of rougher. I think we should spend next episode, which will be that, thinking about that, because I don't really have a sense that's made of that, but we're starting to get one. So who else thought the Beaumar's facial stuff was just stupid?
I liked them.
It didn't serve a useful purpose, and they never take the time to explain.
Yeah, why are they
culture?
Why do they? Is everyone an umpire? they like
their
baseball.
International
apparently.
sport is baseball. Yeah.
I don't know.
So then,
I thought they looked okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, so another thing about this episode is I see how people are upset about quote unquote what Voyager did to the Borg. The Borg are kind of like the Klingons on the original series when you get to Voyager, because they're kind of there in every other episode, and it comes from being in their space, right? I mean, you can't really be in their space or around their space without seeing them pretty often. But you kind of get the sense that it's they're not this uncommon, menacing, terrifying foe anymore. They're just kind of we might run into them, we might not, and they're common. Yeah. And, I mean, how much allure can they retain, or how much menace can they retain, given that, is the real question. And a lot of people argue not much.
The rare, mysterious, overpowering enemy, we got that already in Next Generation. They already did that. Now they can use them for something else.
Oh, so it's the nature of how you use the sort of species.
They had a run as the rare, mysterious, powerful thing, and it was great, and we liked it. And now there's something else, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think I'm all right with that.
I think on the topic of back to what the Borg objective is, I think it's interesting to think about that through the lens of what 7 of 9 is going through in this episode. In that she seems really conflicted about her Borg sort of past. On one side, she wants to say she's not afraid of the Borg, and she really values the fact that the Borg gave her knowledge of herself, what she thought was knowledge of herself. She's clearly disturbed in the scene in sickbay where she because she doesn't know something about herself. On the other hand, the episode suggests that maybe that's all just like Stockholm syndrome, basically. And so, from the perspective of what the Borg want, I think you can think about what the Borg actually gave to her in this episode. And when she thinks back on her time as Borg, it was a time when she was like powerful and secure, and there weren't any mysteries about herself. And so the Borg are basically giving her the same thing that cults give people. It's giving her like the sense of, knowledge of everything and security in numbers, that kind of thing.
Certainty. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no uncertainty in the collective. We talked previously about how that doesn't actually make sense, but if we just go with it, that's an aspect of it as it's presented.
Well, repeat that. Circle back. What do you mean? What did we say before?
In a previous discussion, which we'll be releasing soon when we release our backlog, we discussed how it doesn't actually make sense that a large coordinated entity wouldn't have any internal uncertainty about what to do, because it has to, there's always uncertainty from your sensors and that kind of thing. But as it's presented, as 7 of 9 remembers being in the Borg, she remembers that it was a time of certainty when she didn't have to wonder about like trauma or human fallibility.
It's kind of the cold calculation of a computer. It's binary. It's very rational, linear, clear. Like there's no room for uncertainty because it's not a process that exists as a subdirective or a subprogram in the. So that makes sense. I mean, like it makes sense that she would have the experience of certainty, and that would be part of the allure of being in the collective. And it might even be a reason for someone to want to be assimilated. I'm really curious if what it would be like, or what it was like for the very first people to either be assimilated or to choose to be a part of this thing. Like there are all these theories. Like maybe what's that?
Must have been species 1.
Yeah, or maybe even species 0. I mean, they might have started with 0.
Might be 0 indexed.
I wonder if it was like a voluntary experiment. Just started out being like, hey, you guys want to be a part of this? You'll be linked telepathically.
Yeah, maybe it was something about health. It was something about survival. Like, hey, the collective energy of the group will enable you to survive longer or better or something. So more about this episode. The clothing on the show. It's the clothing that the Bomar wore was kind of like crazy and dumb. It was like a Mondrian painting. And then and then Neelix, his clothes are always kind of wacky. And then I looked up because I was curious. I was like, wait, there's got to be an in-universe reason for why 7 of 9 is wearing the cat suit, capital TC.
Oh yeah, they mentioned that in Scorpion Part 2.
Well, it's like dermoplastic garments that act like high-tech full-body bandages. So the quote that I found, I think it was on Quora or something. They were designed by the doctor to help with 7's ongoing process of rejecting and healing from Borg implant. And that, that makes sense.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, it does. And it happens to fulfill a very valuable tool for the viewers. Like, we can accentuate her sensual features and we'll keep people watching for entirely the wrong reasons. And, like, it's also very interesting, right? Because if you have anything of a brain, anything of a heart, when you're viewing somebody who you're attracted to, like physically, you start to notice, like, okay, well, her personality is kind of stupid. I don't really want to be around that. Or, like, she's probably would be profoundly unworkable to be in any sort of level of a relationship with. I mean, not to say she isn't attractive. For some reason, and this really just stood out as, like, a philosophical point to me today. Like, I've been working with David Dita's system from The Way of the Superior Man about femininity versus masculinity, and masculinity has this orientation towards purpose and mission, and like everybody has feminine and masculine sides. The feminine side's more into intimacy and connection and relationship, and so like she has that sort of masculine drive, and it's the primary thing that you see in her. And it's interesting how the engaging of that gear in a woman can be really attractive, whether it's like her making a move in bed, like really intentional, really full of desire, or like creating her own thing out in the world. Like it all just came to me in this one moment where you see 7 of 9, like she's very intentional and she's almost aggressive in her glare. And I was like, yeah, that's the only thing that I've seen that's attractive in her personality so far this episode. Otherwise, she's just kind of like rude and crude and awkward and like it's good.
Arrogant.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean, her arrogance wasn't as potent here as it is elsewhere, but yeah, she's formidable. I'll give her that. That was really cool. Like her with a phaser rifle and yeah.
I think her personality in this episode was pretty interesting in that she was putting on this sort of Borg, arrogant, goal-directed behavior like you're talking about, but I think it might have been an affectation. Like, notice that she killed Tuvok's, or she attacked Tuvok's assistants, but she didn't really hurt Tuvok. If she was really in Borg mode, she wouldn't have any trouble about hurting Tuvok. I think it might have just been like a way for her to psychologically deal with her internal conflict about what happened to her.
Yeah, which makes
like in that
interesting.
episode of Next Generation where the kid starts imitating Data because he sees Data as strong. I think she might have just been remembering the Borg and imitating the Borg in that moment so she could feel strong.
Yeah, and it was easier for her to access that kind of resource of personality because it was all that she was for so long, was this. Yeah. And so, yeah, for her, she's similar to Michael Burnham, actually, in that she has this side of her that was kind of designed by or enculturated by, more designed than enculturated, because enculturated means you kind of have a choice and a negotiation within your personality as you're growing into it, but if you're conscious of it anyway and noticing what's going on. But Michael Burnham, right, raised by the Vulcans, she's got that part of her that she can kind of access that is kind of the easy, dominant place for her to go in dealing with things, but it's not her only place. And it, over time, has become integrated into a holistic expression of personality, whereas Seven, at this point, she's got the Borg thing that she can lean on or fall back in isolation of anything else. Because and you actually do see some of Annika Hansen, like when they're on the Raven, and Tuvok, so generous, so like compassionate in his own way, so like willing to help, which is really kind of cool. Also, what was cool was that he was Vulcan neck-pinched. I was just like, ha ha.
Yeah.
But anyway, like she comes out, and you see this scared child. I really I had a little bit of teary-eyed because I was like, oh, I feel that she's suffering, she's sad, she's like, and then her parents, which incidentally get retconned later, like she and her parents are all played by someone else in the later episodes that we'll see. Which I wish the writers hadn't done that, but whatever. It happened to Savick from Star Trek 2 to Star Trek 4, so whatever, or 3 and then 4. But just kind of a narrative contrivance. But yeah, I liked that she has. I mean, she kind of has the Borg thing that she can lean on, and then she has the side of her that she's. I mean, she's afraid to even accept, embrace, explore, and express it because it is kind of small, feeble, weak, the personality of a child. And so it was good that she had Tuvok there because he was willing to help, and it was all really therapeutic. This whole, like the second half of this episode, or maybe even the whole thing, is kind of Seven's therapeutic coming to completion with parts of her that were left incomplete by the Borg, and sort of entering into the community, actually. And this crisis fomented her ability or sparked her ability to be a better part of the community on Voyager. If this hadn't happened, like it might have been more difficult later on. She had this unconscious material that she was struggling with or whatever. So anyway, I've said a lot. Back to you guys. Want to hear some more.
I like that the doctor said when he's telling 7 of 9 to go eat Neelix's food, he says, I would hesitate to inflict his cuisine on anyone. I like that the doctor says that because the doctor doesn't have a sense of taste. So this is just an expression of pure spite.
Yes, he's heard enough from other crewmates and shipmates that he already has a fully formed opinion, if even not based in actual experience. So I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. As an artificial intelligence, there must be a whole realm of affectations like that for him in order to become more personable and humane-seeming. I mean, like...
in this case, by being a jerk.
Even the lack of hair. Like, I mean, I guess he's more relatable if he has some foible or thing that's imperfect. Like,
well, that's based off of his creator, right?
Yeah, well, also, we know that he can change that later. Or we know that theoretically he should be able to change that. It's really interesting. So the Doctor, and I think we've sort of gestured towards this with the Christopher Bennett novel we discussed related to Scorpion, but the Doctor has like this ability to change his own programming and how he gets expressed out in the world. and it makes him unique in all the artificial intelligence and all the sort of outsider exploring the human condition characters of Star Trek. And I think makes him maybe even the most interesting because, he clearly must be choosing on some level to be bald. And I think we have a decent reason, like he's trying to be more relatable, but like he also complains about it, which is kind of like, huh? So.
Well, in order to be personable, he complains. It's also the case that people often complain about something that they're perfectly capable of fixing rather than fixing it.
Yeah, it's called rackets, right?
Yeah.
They'd rather be right that there's something wrong than be responsible for the actions and the shifts in perspective that it would take to fix what's going on in their life. And they'd rather be comfortable and right than have the life that they want or have the thing that they want. Yeah, this is common. Yeah, I guess that definitely makes him more human. Good point. So there were a couple kind of funny things on the shuttle, which it's a decent new shuttle. I mean, I guess it's kind of like a TNG shuttle. On the shuttle, there's one scene where you can clearly see that the numbers on the side are backwards. I'm not sure if you guys caught this. Yeah, it was just like, what did the designers do? Like, would they fall asleep while they were editing this? But let's see.
I like that the shuttle busted through the shuttle bay doors.
Yeah.
That was cool. And I bet we're not going to have to see people fixing that.
Nope. I'm pretty sure that the ship is just fine the next episode. But I think it was interesting. So Janeway's look when she finds out that 7 of 9 is gone and the ion trail, they can't follow it, and like that she's in Bomar space and all of this, like right before they went to commercial, I thought her look was just so intense. It was like this mixture of like surprise and dread and concern, and it was almost overacting for Kate Mulgrew. I just felt like, did you really need to go that far? What do you think, Tyler? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I think that was the perfect emotion. Everything that she betrayed on her face was perfect for the moment. Because, well, they've been through over 3 years of this stuff, and she's just trying to get home. She's finally found a species who's just she's found a species being reasonable. Things are going well. I mean, there are some stipulations that she doesn't really want to have to deal with. I wish we could go full warp. I wish we didn't have to take this convoluted route. But now that's being put in jeopardy. And you know what? I think maybe real life may have informed what was going on, because she may have been annoyed by Jerry Ryan. For all we know. But no, it looks like, this is screwing this up. This is an otherwise simple exchange is now turning into a complicated and potentially deadly problem.
Yeah, she was okay. She was pretty good. It was just the noticing of that for me. I was just like, that was a really intense look. So
I like the part where she says where the Bomar are attacking the planet and they're starting to attack Voyager, and she just says, I don't have time for this, and shuts off the Bomar communications.
Yeah, I even liked her little gesture, her little like snap of the hand.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. It
showing the extent to which the B plot is not important for this episode.
Yeah. Which ultimately that whole thing was a B plot. Yeah.
That's the writers saying, we don't have time for this.
That's the writers.
That's enough.
We don't have time for this. Yeah.
Yeah, we really didn't care about this. This was just filler because we're not good enough at this point to fill the whole episode with something that matters. But, I mean, the direction was good. I liked the direction, which, by the way, was LeVar Burton. He directed this episode. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes. That shot of the Raven that she was looking on was pretty particularly cool. And everything about how the Borg were cut, the Borg scenes where she's a little girl, all of that was cut pretty expertly. The first shot you see of one of the Borg is very, it's really disturbing.
Yeah, I like the one where the Borg, he like screams like a raven. There's this one scene where you see a Borg like, Rawr!
Precisely. That was the first one, I think. Or the second one. The first one was before the title sequence.
Anyway, so the last couple questions or things I'd say about this, it's just a comparative question, number one, because we've been, knee-deep in Discovery for the past month or two. The production values and the pacing and the depth of characterization and the lack of serialization, it all just kind of hit me at once, and I was just like, okay, it's going to be difficult watching Trek that isn't Discovery. Because now we've got such a high bar and a high standard and so much money that they're pouring it. Netflix and CBS are pouring into that show that it's just like, man, going back and watching moderately decent. I mean, it was good for what it was, and it's still good, but definitely not Discovery. And I'm fast becoming one of those. I never thought I'd be this person, but I think Discovery is actually my favorite series, I think. So anyway, last couple questions. What's with the LCARS color scheme? That was interesting to me. I was just noticing that in the shuttlecraft. I was like, why do all the buttons have to have that particular set of colors? And then kind of the same question about the alcoves. Like, why do the Borg need green colored light things? And I guess there's some function to that, but especially the like green light near the bottom. Like, what does that do? Why is that there? I don't know. Any ideas?
I feel like we discussed that. I'm having deja vu. The color palettes of this universe seem pretty, yeah.
I enjoyed watching this after Discovery because I feel like with Discovery, I'm always a little bit like worried for it. Like I want it to succeed because I want more Star Trek. And so I feel like I'm always like I'm like rooting for them to make a good episode so it'll get renewed a lot, you know? And that's a little bit stressful. And with Voyager, it's, you know, it's so far in the past, you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. You can just relax and let it wash over you.
That's true. I mean, like, also they've got Trexpertise, which is one of my favorite, you know, review channels on YouTube for Star Trek. It's a really cool guy. Like, they're really well done, and he's really smart. I should probably reach out to him. But he was talking today on Into the Forest I Go, the review of that, how Discovery is unique among all television series because not only is it serialized and, like, follows the kind of regular expected long-form narrative format of Netflix shows, but it also has this whole realm of people who are analyzing every detail, and how no show really has that except for Star Trek. Like, Star Trek has this whole past history that everybody is comparing, noticing references, analyzing, interpreting, understanding, trying to figure out. And I think he said, and then I would agree, that that puts it above and beyond, like, other shows and makes it something unique that probably will have a long time that it's on TV, beyond the second season, which is already renewed for, considering, like, the amount of attention and analysis and energy people put into it. They want to see where it goes. They want to see what happens. They get curious about it. And, I mean, it's decent on its own as just a show, but as a Star Trek show, it's been so long since Star Trek's been on TV and such a desire and a draw for it that, like, it's probably going to be there for a long time. And as Tyler and I have talked about, we'll be in season 7. I decided today, Tyler, that we're actually going to be brothers on the show, and that'll add a lot of drama, like, because, you know, you get reassigned, or we have to go on an away mission together, and you get, like, horrifically threatened by some alien species, and then we have to save each other. I don't know. Be interesting.
Oh, no. I die horribly, and you die saving me, or trying.
Oh, well,
because I die already.
Oh, I don't really want to die.
What are you talking about?
Well, then we better accumulate credits.
We're going to be on the show, Richard, in season 7. Yeah.
How'd you swing that?
We haven't yet, but I don't need to know how. I'll figure out how. How we'll get attracted over time. We're just going to keep imagining it and building our careers to the point where we're big enough name actors to where we can be either, co-stars or even part of the main crew. I mean, we got at least 5 years.
Or we're going to run scams that involve saving high-profile movie producers from death-defying situations, and then they'll give us stuff.
Yeah, Tyler, you don't want to put that in public on our podcast.
You guys can edit that out, I think, but it wasn't meant to be serious, or was it?
So, yeah, anyway, this episode I give, I think, like a 7.5 or an 8, maybe 7.8, I guess. It's decent. It's enjoyable. I'm sorry. This is one of my criterion. It's not Discovery.
Is that what the points are for?
Yes, that's what the missing of the couple points to 8. I mean, it's a decent episode. It's good. It's solid character work. It's enjoyable. But it doesn't, like, Star Trek is capable of more. That's all. And better. And I will, moving forward, kind of expect that of Star Trek, because I know where it's been, I know where it's going, I know what it's capable of. And this doesn't mean I'm like a snob or I hate these old shows. We're going to go through each and every episode of movie. and there's a lot to love and figure out about it all. But I think I can be kind of a perfectionist with it now. Yeah. So what did you guys think?
I think out of a 1 to 10 level force field, it was a 7.
Why 7 and why force field?
Because it was pretty dangerous to the Voyager crew, and I enjoyed 7 and 9's character development. And also they had that Generations callback where Tuvok almost hurt himself.
I'd give it a 9. Good direction and characterization. I enjoyed
Awesome.
it.
Tyler, what was the callback?
All right, so shortly after 7 of 9 subdues Tuvok, once he beams aboard the shuttle, she erects a force field once he wakes up, and he walks right into it, and then she says, "That's a level 5 force field. I'd be more careful."
Oh, the Soren scene.
Yay.
With the card. Yeah. Well, I'm curious, what do you guys think this added to our knowledge of the Borg, really? That was one of my concerns, was just like, all right, well, I guess it shows what happened with one person dealing with the Borg. I mean, now we know that one Talaxian ship was assimilated. Whoop-de-doo.
I think it gives
much.
us more psychological insight on what it's like to be inside the Borg.
It's more her rehabilitation, a little further explored. She used to be a Borg, now she's not. It was necessary.
On that note, well, I think we're good with this episode. Next week, you guys good for the Omega directive?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's decent. I may even watch it tonight. It's a good episode. It's fun. It's one of those action-y episodes. Anyway, we thank you, all of our listeners. Definitely, please share, like, and subscribe. Give us some comments. We'd love to engage with you. And because once you engage with us in communication, we can say we have engaged the insert your name here, which would be a Discovery and a Next Gen reference at once. We're going to be on YouTube. We have a channel called Clever Orbits. Feel free to subscribe there, and you'll get updates in the future. Thank you guys for being on, and thank you listeners for listening. And we will talk to you in the future.